La Llorona is not new to me, but before researching for this episode, I had not put much thought into her beyond the basic story. After watching the movie again, and reading stories from people who claim to have seen her, or TikToks claiming to catch her on video, I got a little spooked. I realized the level of fear people grew up with was how I felt about Bloody Mary. Except I could reassure myself I had never summoned her, so she shouldn't pop up in my bathroom mirror for no reason. I'm not sure I would ever leave my house if I grew up hearing about La Llorona. I would probably not be the water baby I have always been. Alligators, snakes, sharks, sure. La Llorona? No. The events in tonight's episode are real, drawn from history, folklore, and whispered accounts. The Academy's connection to these events only exists in legend, as intended. Before you enter these halls, heed warning. Tonight's chilling tales are not for the faint of heart. All who enter must be prepared to explore stories of darkness, mystery, the macabre, and all of the darkest parts of humanity. If tales of true crime, the paranormal, or other creatures that go bump in the night unsettle you, turn back now. This is not the place for you. Welcome to Dark Academy. I'm Kristen, and I'll be your guide through this chilling night. Grab your candle and follow me to our haunted library of horror. Here we are. Please excuse the lack of light. It's an old building. Electricity is spotty. Bring your candles over here close to the fireplace so we can all see. Okay, let's get started. If you're new here, welcome. This is our Midnight Library Circle, where we meet to discuss all things horror. Yes, movies, but mostly to lead us into some paranormal and true crime stories. Last time, we talked about the Scream franchise and some copycat murders that took place, as well as some crazy dishwasher deaths. You'll have to go listen. Today we'll talk about the movie The Curse of La Llorona, some related folktales, and some horrific true crimes related to real-life moms who kill. First and foremost, let's talk about the movie. I always thought it was part of the Conjuring universe, and I don't think I'm the only one. But director Michael Chavez said it's not. However, Tony Amendola plays the priest, Father Perez, in Annabelle. He is also Father Perez in La Llorona, where he even references dealing with the case of Annabelle. And he's shown carrying her away from some building. I say some building because I have not seen Annabelle the movie, for the doll aspect and all. I hate dolls. Porcelain dolls to be exact. Even though Annabelle looks more like a strung-out drug addict version of a once beautiful porcelain doll. Don't tell her I said that. I don't need her haunting me. Anyway, Father Perez carrying Annabelle in The Curse of La Llorona. She's in the universe, so he's in the universe, so this movie is in the universe. You can't convince me otherwise. So the plot of this movie is about a social worker who seems to be struggling with being a single mom due to her fairly newly departed husband. She is faced with a case of what appears to be abuse, causing her to remove boys from their mother's home, putting them into the state's care. When she is called to the scene of their drowned bodies later that night, she is forced to bring her children, who don't listen and bring home a demon, or La Llorona or whoever. Their whole life is upended. Anna, the mother, is forced to face a reality she doesn't even believe in while trying to save her children from La Llorona, a relentless supernatural stalker hell-bent on killing her children. Putting her trust in a local faith healer, they defeat La Llorona in the end. Everyone is safe. In the end, a puddle suggests otherwise, though. I thought the movie was good. The monster was fairly terrifying, not cheesy. This is something I think the Conjuring universe does well. Creepy monsters. There were some decent jump scares that felt earned. If you can't tell, I like when movie elements are earned and not cheap. So, anything attacking your children is terrifying. And any curse put on you or your family feels defeating. Like, what can I do? Is there a way to break the curse, or are you just marked for doom? I do like the added lore of the trees that witnessed her sin being the thing that could kill her. because normally killing a supernatural being seems impossible. I myself have nothing but good things to say about this movie, but I did read some negatives. Some feel the movie was whitewashed. Considering the main character in the movie is a white woman with Mexican folklore, I get the issue. But this is a very common theme in horror films. A naive outsider comes in a situation completely unprepared for what will unfold in the movie. They are unaware of the lore. If the person were aware, they would stay away from the problem. Had Anna known, she probably would have helped Patricia hide her kids instead of taking them from her. Purists of La Llorona folklore feel the movie minimized the culture to superstitious and violent. It happens in the backwoods too. People are looked at as feral, dumb, and something to be feared. I think the outsider discovers the hard way is just an easy narrative. It's harder to come up with a reason for someone who knows to stay away from La Llorona to suddenly come up with this weeping woman and be cursed. Then again, Patricia did somehow, so it could have been her story. Either way, my rating is recommend. Scary with great lore. Tell me what you think. Given this movie was based on hundreds of years of folklore, how accurate was it? We'll start with the spirit of La Llorona. In the movie, she enters your home in cars, even hanging out around bathtubs. Any little bit of water, even a puddle, as I already stated, was implied to be unsafe in the end. I haven't heard or read a story where she enters your home or car, but I have heard people say to lock your doors and turn off your lights. That seems to imply she can come inside, so I don't know. In the movie, she's an emotionless zombie, except when the necklace is presented. The real La Llorona is full of emotion, pain, wailing for her children. A representation of so much more than just a weeping woman. There are many legends told of La Llorona's life and afterlife. Her story told in the movie seems to be the most common one. A poor woman falls for a rich man. They have children and are happily married for a while, until he grows bored of her and moves on to a younger, more attractive woman. We've all heard that story. La Llorona drowns the children in a jealous rage, taking from him what he values most. Coming to her sanity, she drowns herself in regretful despair. Unable to find peace or acceptance in the afterlife, she is doomed to wander the waterways, crying for her children. Some stories of a weeping woman go back over 500 years in current-day Mexico City. This rendition suggests La Llorona is the Aztec goddess Coatlicue. Sorry if I said that wrong. Goddess of motherhood and fertility, the mother goddess. She wandered the streets on the eve of the Spanish conquest. The people heard a weeping woman night after night. She passed by in the middle of the night, wailing and crying out in a loud voice, "My children, we must flee far away from this city." At other times she cried, "My children, where shall I take you?" She wailed for the impending doom of all her children. You see, this bringer of life was also the bringer of death. Hearing and seeing her is a death omen. This is the version that lends to La Llorona wandering the streets. There are suggestions that La Malinche, Cortez's lover and translator, is La Llorona, killing her children when Cortez ditched her for another woman and passed Malinche off to another man. But there is no evidence she killed her children at all, so her history just blended with La Llorona lore over time. There are accounts of La Llorona seducing and killing men, especially night watchers. Even men just offering to help a crying woman. I couldn't find a story that correlates with this lore, but it's terrifying for men. So though she may not be a soulless entity, she is almost certainly malevolent. Much of the world seems to have some version of a wailing woman, or one that takes the life of her victims. Sort of like the Celtic banshee and German Klagmachme, again, sorry if I said that wrong, who wail to let you know someone in your family has died or is about to die. The Celtic have another fairy in their folklore, the Lenonshi. They are basically a vampiric fairy who falls in love, giving artistic inspiration while sucking the life force from her victim. Some say that isn't the entire story, but we won't go there right now since we're here to talk about La Llorona. There is also a song about La Llorona that has been passed down and added to through the years. About a couple during the Mexican Revolution. The man had to go to war but didn't return. His wife is the weeping woman. However, some say the song is about a man stuck in a relationship he wants out of. Others say it's about a man longing for his dead wife, which is why the song is played around the time of Dia de la Muerta, expressing hope to meet passing loved ones again. It is human nature to protect your offspring, so filicide is so baffling. In most of the stories of La Llorona, she kills her children out of despair, rage over a lover who kicked her to the curb. Most real-life cases of this kind are related to postpartum depression or psychosis, or a woman getting rid of children she perceives as being in the way of a romantic relationship. One instance of psychosis was Andrea Yates. Andrea was suffering for years from postpartum depression, psychosis, and schizophrenia, spending time in and out of hospitals. She was suicidal and had multiple attempts. Believing her bad parenting would doom her kids to hell, she believed killing them would save their souls. Psychiatrists advised against having more children, but Rusty, her husband, was determined to have as many children as God would naturally allow. Psychiatrists also advised against leaving Andrea unattended. Rusty did not follow these instructions either, and left her alone with them for a few hours on June 20th, 2001. Within the hour between when he left and his mother Dora was supposed to come over and watch the kids, Andrea drowned all 5 children. She was found innocent by reason of insanity, but put in a psychiatric facility. What baffles me, though, is that no one else is held liable in any way. The father, for not heeding warnings to not leave her alone. Doctors, for not keeping her in the hospital longer. But I know they have limits with these current policies. Some balance has to be found between stopping people who are showing signs they are about to commit a crime and still keeping privacy rights for those who have no such plans. Some cases may not be as obvious today, with some of the conspiracies turning out to be true. But LA woman Liliana Carrillo's family did suspect her mental health was spiraling, so they requested an evaluation. But it didn't happen fast enough. Suffering from paranoid psychosis, she drowned her 3 children, ages 3, 2, and 4 months, in an attempt to save them from their father, whom she believed to be abusing the children, and also trying to save them from a sex traffic ring. She was supposed to turn the children over to their father the next day, so she thought it was a better fate for them to die than to suffer a life of abuse. She was just found innocent by reason of insanity this month. While La Llorona did seem to have a short-lived psychosis, the reason doesn't quite qualify for the insanity plea. I wouldn't think anyway. 2 stories a little closer to La Llorona are 2 of the most well-known cases: Diane Downs and Susan Smith. In Springfield, Oregon, Diane Downs had an affair with a man who broke off the relationship because he didn't want any children. She had 3. On the night of May 19, 1983, Diane and her children drove the scenic route home after visiting a friend. A man shot her and her 3 children in an attempt to carjack her when she pulled over to help him. Diane was able to get away while the man was distracted looking for the car keys she pretended to throw away. She raced to the hospital with 3-year-old Danny, 7-year-old Cheryl Lynn, and 8-year-old Christy. Unfortunately, Cheryl Lynn did not make it, but fortunately, Danny and Christy did. However, they were unable to talk due to their injuries. Christy suffered a stroke. Police were suspicious of Diane's story from the start. Everyone was. She didn't seem the least bit concerned about her children, and Christy appeared afraid of her when she was around. That was very strange to the hospital staff. Police also talked to witnesses who saw her, quote-unquote, racing to the hospital at about 5 miles per hour. Also, the gun used by the shooter was a .22 caliber, an exact match to one registered to Diane. But she reported hers stolen. The evidence in the car didn't match her story either, but none of these things broke the case open. It was 8-year-old Christy when she started talking. She told the police the real story. Diane pulled over on the side of the road and shot all 3 of her own children. She then shot herself in the arm and drove at a glacial speed to the hospital. Diane was sentenced to life in prison plus 50 years in 1984, even though she was up for parole in 2008, 2010, and 2020. She was denied every time. She testified during her trial that her father abused her as a child in an attempt to excuse her behavior. She later recanted those allegations, so who knows? Even if it did happen, though, childhood trauma is not an excuse to abuse your children, let alone murder them. The prosecutor in the case adopted both Christy and Danny. I have no idea why their dad didn't or where he is. Diane became pregnant before her incarceration. She gave birth to a baby girl who was seized by the state and adopted out. Susan Smith of Union, South Carolina, has a similar story of childhood abuse and trauma. Her father completed suicide when she was just a child. She also attempted at the age of 13 and again after high school when a married man she was having an affair with broke off their relationship. Her stepfather also sexually abused her, so she did have it rough. But as far as I'm concerned, none of these things explain what happened on October 25th, 1994. Susan reported being carjacked by an African-American man with her children in the backseat. She dramatically pleaded on national television for her children's return for 9 days before admitting she rolled her car into a lake with her 3 and 1-year-old sons trapped inside. Her defense claimed she was suffering from severe depression and planned to kill herself with her children in the car, but her body's self-preservation mechanism forced her out of the car last minute. As a person who suffers from mental illness, depression being part of it, I sympathize that that's really what happened. But there's another side of the story where prosecutors say she killed her children to save an affair with a rich man in town who broke things off due to not wanting children. So who knows? Regardless of the reason, she killed her children and was sentenced to life in prison. She is eligible for parole in November this year. Though these stories do contain some elements of La Llorona's tale, they still don't match. La Llorona did not kill her children to keep a man. She killed them to punish the man for leaving. In a whole different story of La Llorona, she is a sex worker killing her infant babies because she couldn't care for them and didn't want to be shunned. A Utah woman had 3 children with her husband, but both she and he became addicted to methamphetamine. They ended up parting ways. While in the garage one day, her ex-husband found a white box with baby remains. I can't imagine finding that. She claimed the baby was a stillborn she disposed of. She later confessed to getting pregnant and killing the babies as soon as they were born. Yes, I said babies and I said they. Multiple. At first she said 4, later saying 8 or 9. Finally she said she didn't know how many. Police found 6 more bodies, one of which was actually stillborn, so maybe she wasn't lying. So many questions on this one. Like, how did she get pregnant so many times to, I'm guessing, full term without anybody knowing? I don't know. In a very similar story in 2012, a woman in France was digging in the garden of her new house when she discovered the bodies of 2 infants. Again, I can't imagine finding that. Dominique Cotres admitted to killing the 2 babies, and 6 more she hid in the garage between 1989 and 2007. She claimed she had an incestuous relationship with her father, and this was her form of birth control. By the way, shout out to France for making a cameo in this episode as well. As you can probably surmise, filicide is not as uncommon as we would like. In 2017, 33-year-old Isabel Martinez in Gwinnett County, Georgia, stabbed her husband and 5 children, saying a devil-like spirit was trying to take their souls. She killed her husband because he tried to stop her. Her 9-year-old daughter did survive and was able to tell the police what actually happened. Just last year, 23-year-old Tiffany Lucas shot her 3 and 9-year-old sons, claiming the internet, Wi-Fi, and Facebook manipulated her into killing them. I have no idea if that's true or just an attempt at the insanity plea, but she just changed her plea to guilty and dropped the insanity part. Sentencing will occur on November 22nd this year. Just a few days ago even, a Texas woman dropped her 17-month-old daughter out of her hotel balcony window. It's so new, so not a lot is known. The mother is in custody, though. While none of these stories truly match La Llorona, she does embody, or in spirit, some combination of all of them. Love, in some form. Loss, losing yourself, losing control, despair, fear. The one thing I don't see in these stories that I do see in La Llorona's is guilt, regret, longing. But even with her big ol' heart full of guilt, she's still terrifying, and I never want to come across her. Well, that's it for the dark and chilling tale of La Llorona and other mother monsters. Next week, we'll talk about the ritual and some possible, along with known ritualistic crimes. Now it's time for our short segment I'm calling Final Fright, where we discuss a short topic like a weird or unique phobia or death or something similar. I'm here to make you fear. Since we've been talking about La Llorona, I'm going to talk about the fear of water, aquaphobia. As a third-generation Floridian, I grew up in the water. Oceans, rivers, lakes, springs, even a good puddle or ditch a time or two. Shut up, don't judge. It gets hot in Florida. Anyway, so there are also a lot of critters to fear in the water. So aquaphobia related to swimming, but who would know to be scared of drinking water? I'm not talking about bacteria or anything like that, that's terrifying enough. Simply drinking too much water. February 2nd, 2005, Matthew Carrington died from a hazing ritual at a fraternity in Chico, California. He was forced to drink water while doing calisthenics, and the fraternity didn't call for help immediately. The water intoxication caused brain swelling, seizures, and heart failure. Those involved pleaded guilty to charges of involuntary manslaughter, accessory to involuntary manslaughter, and misdemeanor hazing. California's Matt's Law resulted from this case, allowing prosecutors to go after non-students involved in hazing charges, and hazing charges related to injury or death have been changed from misdemeanors to felonies. Even knowing that this happened, January 12, 2007, the Morning Rave radio show held a contest for the newly released and hard-to-obtain Nintendo Wii gaming console called Hold Your Wii for a Wii. Jennifer Strange, wife and mother of 3, placed second. She called a coworker and told them she was suffering from extreme pain and a headache, so she was going home to lay down. That coworker called her mother, who went to Jennifer's house to check on her, where she found her dead. No criminal charges were filed against the show or station, but the Morning Rave was shut down and the DJs were fired. Jennifer's husband and children won a wrongful death lawsuit in the amount of over $16 million. Just last year, Ashley Summers was thought to have died from drinking too much water, 4 bottles in 20 minutes, while on vacation for the 4th of July. That's approximately the amount they tell you to drink in an entire day. But the final coroner report stated she died from heat stroke, alcohol intake, and electrolyte imbalance, which still relates to too much water in a short time, but I guess that's not the official cause of death. In 2020, a boy died after being forced by his parents to drink 3 liters of water in 4 hours. When interviewed, his stepmom said they thought he needed to drink a certain amount every day for his urinary health. I know we're out there all trying to live our best life, but make sure you aren't putting yourself in danger trying to do so. It's hard to know who to listen to these days, but please be careful. Well, thank you for joining me here at Dark Academy. I hope you enjoyed this dark and chilling tale, and we'll come back next time for another one. Don't forget to leave a review for this episode in the comment section below. I try to post pictures and other content on TikTok and Instagram at Dark Academy Pod. If you'd like to review the whole show, you can do that on Apple Podcasts. You can rate the show on any of the apps, and please do. It really helps a small show like this one. You can also email me at darkacademypod@gmail.com. Thanks again for listening. I'll meet you here next time. Same time, same place. For it's always midnight at Dark Academy. Bye.